guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, Nicole is here with me today, and we got to look, and it's been 3 years since we filmed our very first video together. And so we thought we would do an updated version because life's changed a lot in 3 years, hadn't it? So we've both kind of sat down and, not together, but on our own, come up with some questions that we wanted to ask. And so that's what we're going to do. We, just like the last video, we did like a candid, just a kind of chit chat, conversation. That's what we're going to do now too. Although we have kind of talked around some of these questions, we haven't exactly like put our minds to these questions yet. So you're going to get, our answer off the top of our head. So I'll start. First question, how do you feel now as opposed to when you first came out?
A lot more confident and just natural.
Yeah. I think to me, it's a huge change. You just feel better in every way, in my opinion. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 2. What's changed the most in the time since you came out?
Probably my thinking.
You're thinking?
The way I think about stuff.
But, and we've talked about this a little bit, you have to kind of admit this town has changed too.
Yeah, I was surprised to come back and see the Kratom being sold and the CBD being sold and all that stuff. And the churches are a little different. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Putting weird stuff on there. The 11/11 thing. That was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I think Nicole and Tyler have been living in Colorado, in case you don't follow us, and they lived out there. Well, Tyler's always lived there. Nicole has been there about 2 years, 3 years.
I moved there in 2017 in October.
Okay, so been there a little while. And so coming back here, I think like literally the first thing she said was, oh my gosh, it has really changed. So, and I think it's for the better. I think there are still some stuff that, needs work, but I think for the most part, it's better. Okay. Number 3, what do you think is the biggest thing that still needs to change?
I think personally marijuana legalization.
Okay.
That would help everybody the most. That'd give you a lot of new jobs and new industry, and people could get the medicine they need. That's helped me the most in Colorado.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4, how has our family changed toward you?
I quit talking to, it's not that I quit talking to them.
Not just the immediate family, but like our family as a whole.
Family. I guess I didn't talk to anybody anyway, really. Rarely. Talked to a couple uncles. That was about it. Didn't really talk before and don't talk now. I got a couple, Uncle David, I like him. And Kathy.
Yeah.
They're all right.
I wasn't really going to call names, but okay, no. Yeah, I think that's true in every family though,
Just grew
we have our
too.
favorites, Yeah, and too, that's true. We used to get together a lot because all of our kids were little, and now all of our kids are grown and doing their own thing, and instead of getting together, we all go to our own kids, so
yeah, I moved
that's
1,000
changed
miles
it.
away from them too.
Yeah. Number 5, what would you say to someone struggling with coming out or not?
Get mad about it, We talked about that earlier, and I think if you're not mad about it, you'll never think that you deserve the life you can have. It's going to take anger, especially if you're in a place where there's a lot of angry bigots. You're going to have to match that energy and, come out like that.
Yeah, and when we had talked about it earlier, I said, in my opinion, because it's such a personal thing, it's like to do with, your sexuality and stuff, that's a real private matter. And so you're never going to feel worthy or good enough if somebody is allowed to keep saying, y'all are less than, y'all are less than. You know what I mean?
You gotta prove
so you have to, well, no, I think you have to, for like you were saying, like you said, get mad. But I think that's like kind of like going, yeah, I deserve equal treatment too,
Yeah.
whatever, so I agree, with it. I think maybe you would go about it one way and I'd go about it another, but it's still the same kind of answer.
Yeah. It's an extreme thing to come out, and especially the transgender. Yeah, I think it's just going to take extreme measures.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's not easy. Very hard.
Well, in the last video, you said something, like I rewatched the video 2 or 3 days ago, to kind of see what we said then and to see what we'd say now. And you touched on something that you said, do you think we can force people, to deal with it? And I was like, no, I don't think you can force anybody to do anything. And that's true. I think we're all entitled to our own beliefs and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But just like with allowing black people to use the front door instead of the back door, there was a certain group of people that had to be forced to do that, or they would have never done that.
They still exist.
And that's kind of what you were meaning. You weren't meaning like, I'm going to make them like me. That's not it.
No. Yeah.
They have to be forced to give you equal treatment.
Yeah.
Like equal pay and stuff like that, and being able to go in the front door instead of the back door. That's what I think you meant, and we didn't really touch on that.
Yeah.
In as clear a way as we should have.
You can't control people's thoughts, but you can absolutely criminalize certain behaviors, and maybe, certain forms of bigotry should be criminalized. I don't know about locking somebody up, because I don't really agree with that anyway.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something. There's got to be some penalty.
I agree. And like the controversy over the cake maker that wouldn't make the cake for the gay couple. People were saying, well, I wouldn't want somebody to make me a cake that didn't want to make me a cake. I'm with you. I wouldn't have used her either.
Yeah, they're going to spit
But
the
the
cake.
thing about it is, if you let everybody do that, then you are going to get discrimination, period. That's just discrimination. What does it matter? She didn't ask straight people, have you had extramarital sex? She didn't even bring that up to do them a cake, but yet because somebody's gay, you're going to refuse them a cake? Shut up. That's, no. You do have to force some people to treat people equally. You just have to.
Yep.
Okay, those are my questions. Now we'll do yours.
So my first question is, do you still like living in Texas at this point in your life, after all the changes?
She asked me this one earlier, and I'll have to tell you, I said, I don't care one way or the other, because I basically don't get out of my house. So it wouldn't matter where I lived. I don't get out of the house. I'm not around people. And so the only reason I don't like living in Texas is because it's so damn hot, But it wouldn't matter to me. And two, I'm old. I'm to the point where I'm like, if you like me, good. If you don't like me, good. I don't care. So it doesn't really matter where I live right now, other than climate. I wish I lived in a cooler climate.
I think if I could live anywhere else, it'd be Oregon, other than Colorado.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But you're still at an age where you are still looking for like-minded people and
a community.
Right.
Has your views on cannabis changed, on people that use cannabis? Like, do you think it is medicinal? It really does have medicinal properties for mental issues like PTSD.
What do you mean changed? I was not against it I didn't really care for it because I'd never been around it, but I think it has its place, obviously.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
I am more receptive to it now. Like I believe it is more helpful than we've ever been led to believe.
Yep.
I do believe that, but I've not been against it. Period. If you can drink alcohol, why couldn't you smoke a joint? That doesn't matter to me.
And also, I think that for some people, a joint is medicinal. You know?
Yeah.
And I really can't find a time when beer is ever medicinal.
You're right, but I believe a lot of people use it.
They do.
In that way. And there was a time when Nicole was struggling, and you had not come out, yet, and I had said a million times, you're medicating yourself. Because you did drink a lot during that time, and it was reckless. And, I would say, please, you're medicating something. Please stop. Let's do it. Let's go about it. Now, I have changed my mind on thinking that antidepressants are the only answer. I know that's not true now, but at that time I was pushing that because I thought, I wanted her to medicate in the right way, is what I felt, but
Well,
because
I was
alcohol
not
is
doing
not
it
the right way.
Yeah, alcohol
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah, you're
A
not
lot of
medicating
a
it,
lot
you're
of people
killing
use
yourself.
alcohol. Just like I use food. Food is my medicine. Food calms me, and that's the way people are using alcohol. They're using it as a form of medicine.
Number 3, do you think that the suicide rate is pretty high among transgender people?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard somewhere around 41%. Do you think that there's inherently some suicidal tendencies among people that identify as trans, or is it just the extreme discrimination they face? That's it. That's all it is. If you got rid of the discriminations they face, the suicide rate would go down, or is that something inherent?
No, I think it would go down. I definitely think it would go down. However, I don't think it would fix it because I think some people just, have issues,
Yeah, sure.
But yes, I do think it would definitely go down.
I think that the 2 discriminations they face that are the worst, or actually the only 2 that really contribute to the suicide rate, obviously the first one's bigotry, but that one's obvious. But I think that the beauty standards are something that might be even worse on transgender people than the bigotry, the outward bigotry.
We had touched on this earlier because I said when Nicole first came out, I was guilty of saying, fix your hair, put your makeup on, fix your fingernails, dress cute. Whereas with her sister, she could go around with no makeup and, ratty clothes or whatever. But with Nicole, I wanted her made up, all the time, because for some reason that made me feel better.
And maybe you want to be the best ambassador to the world for transgender people. You want to always look the best, but
I think for me, I wanted people to judge you easier, because when you look like a man in woman clothes, it's not nice,
it's hard,
and so the more feminine I felt you looked, the more accepted you would be, and that
is true. But that's a pressure that people don't realize is like.
Well, you told me,
worse.
You said, well, you don't expect that stuff of Cameron, and she was right. I had to check myself, and there was another thing I was going to touch on. I can't remember what it was now. I don't remember. It was the first part of the question. You said, I don't know, maybe I'll think of it. But there was I thought of something while you were saying that. I don't know.
The boys?
No, I don't think it was that. It was just something about, I really don't know what it was about. It just, that it popped in my head. It could have been something totally different. It just popped in my head during that time. You know how old folks are. Okay.
So number 4 is pretty controversial, I guess. Trans women competing in women's sports. Do you support that, or do you think they don't belong in women's sports?
Yeah, we may get talked about a little bit on this one. I don't think they belong in women's sports simply because you can't dope in the sports. And so to me, when you have an advantage because you have a higher testosterone, that's kind of like doping, and I don't think that would be fair.
I don't either, actually. I don't.
I'm glad we agree.
I wouldn't try to compete in women's sports.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, I think it's pushing an envelope that you probably don't need to push.
But do you think should you compete in the male?
If I was gonna compete in sports, I would compete in male sports, and I would expect them to call me the right pronouns, and that's it.
I wonder how that would be received.
Probably not.
Because
well.
it's not received if you competed female. They don't like that at all. How do you think people would feel if you competed as a male?
Well, I wouldn't be competing as a male. I'd be competing in the male.
Well, you're right. I worded that bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's something we're gonna have to figure out. As a whole.
Yeah, it's just one of those things we'll have to deal with it as we get there.
One thing I don't know is if someone was transgender and they figured it out before they hit puberty, and they took puberty blocking drugs to avoid having like testosterone and stuff in them. I don't know.
But that really kind of opens the door to lying. Somebody could say,
Yeah.
I was on hormones when I was 10, and that not be the truth. And
I
don't know. I really don't know how I feel about it.
I just know I wouldn't compete in women. I wouldn't try to sign up for the female Olympics.
Yeah.
And then I'll tie it into, what do you think about trans people in the military? Trans women and men.
Yeah, and I think we disagree here. I absolutely think they do belong in the military.
And I don't. I mean, I don't think they're not capable to be in the military, but I think they're not the greatest specimen for military service.
I talked about this earlier. I believe a trans woman who is, you would be taking a lot of estrogen or whatever. I believe when you're on hormones, maybe that should be an exclusion, because I know I'm a woman. I know I'm moody as all get out. I'll cry at the drop of a hat at certain times of the month. And if that's the way you're feeling all the time when you're on hormones, I don't think you would be mentally stable enough to be in a wartime situation. You know what I mean? But yes, I do think there is a place in the military for the trans community.
Well, sure. Yeah, I guess I should not just say military. I should just say, combat.
Combat, right.
Do they belong in combat?
Right.
No.
But I've seen some trans men that could whoop your ass. So absolutely there's a place for them in combat zones.
The reason why I don't think they should be in combat, why they should not be in the military, and it's not, I just think that if a regular, I shouldn't even say regular, even I have bias mine sometimes against trans people, and I am trans, but a biological male can't take testosterone and be allowed in the military, and so a trans man would be having a advantage over a biological male. If you had like a 5'5" thin biological male versus like a 6 foot trans man that's on testosterone, I can see that not being fair.
Why can't a regular man, like a cisgender man, take testosterone and be in the military? I didn't know that.
I don't think you can be on anything like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, if the military thought that was beneficial, all the troops would be on steroids. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
I know it's controversial.
That's kind of one of those things that it's so, like, it depends on the circumstance and all that, as a whole, yes, I think they do have a place in the military. Now, as in when they can and can't be in certain situations, that's up for debate, I'm sure, but anyway, that's just the way I feel. Because honestly, I believe, I can't remember the numbers, but it's like the military is the #1 employer of the trans community. So they're there, whether you know it or not, they're there.
Yeah, and I kind of find that to be a sad statistic, that you have to join the military just to get your transition. Like, if that's the only reason why trans people want to be in the military, then we're going to have to change that, We shouldn't be fighting to be in the military just to get medicine. We should just be saying, give us medicine. There's a lot of people that get Viagra from the VA, and they're like 78 years old, and they're still getting Viagra, but I can't get, hormones.
Yeah. It's way more complicated than a yes or no answer. It's just way more complicated. And that's true for so many of these questions. They're way deeper than yes or no,
And that's why they're at the forefront of, society right now, because we've never tried to figure these out. We've always shoved them down and,
that was what I was going to mention
people
earlier. The reason I think this is so hard for people to come out, for people to talk about, and all that kind of stuff is because it is it involves, something sexual, and we don't talk about stuff like that openly. And just imagine if you as a cisgender person, meaning that you are the sex that you were, like you identify as the sex you were born as. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. If somebody said, okay, like you wanted to make a point, but you got to get naked, buck naked, and go, see what I got? Imagine how humiliating and embarrassing that would be. Well, that's what keeps, the trans community quiet, because it's embarrassing. Nobody wants to talk about something that private.
Yeah. And it would be tempting to, if you did pass flawlessly, it would be tempting to not tell anybody that you were transgender, and then you don't face a lot of that bigotry. You still face the beauty standards, but you don't.
Yeah.
You fit them a lot simpler and easier, but you, you're protected if you're able to pass.
I agree. You had asked that question in the first video. Did I think it's easier for a trans man than a trans woman? And I absolutely, and I still believe that for some reason our society is hung up on a man in a dress. That's disgusting, but a woman can wear a man's haircut and dress butch, and that's okay. That they don't see that as anything other than she's just a tomboy. So we need to change those ideals, because like my niece, when I was talking to her, I said, why when somebody says, I'm gay or I'm trans or whatever, your brain automatically stops thinking about anything you might have been thinking about, and you go, like it pops in your head, I know how you have sex. Like they stop being a human being.
Well, it's dehumanization.
Yeah, right. And it's not like you don't think about them as in paying their bills and buying groceries and all that normal stuff. Your mind, bam, went to what they do in the bed. And I think that's jacked up. I don't think that way, because I've never met, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but I've never met another human that when I looked at them, I went, I wonder how they have sex. Don't care. So we need to, as a society, change that. We need to stop dehumanizing them. We need to, they're not just a sex act. They are a human being living a life just like we are. I think that would go a long way in helping our society deal with it easier.
I think society also is extremely sexualized, and that makes it that much harder for this to be on the forefront, because you do feel a large pressure to be sexy, not just be who you are, but you have to also be sexy to be successful or consider yourself. At least I feel that.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I'm not successful, but I've never felt that I needed to be successful. You know what I mean? Like, I do think you don't
have to be. I mean, you can be successful and not be sexy, but it does feel like overall there's like a general consensus that sexier you are, the more successful you're probably going to be.
Absolutely. I was just fixing to say it. I mean, it's a known fact that pretty people, get by easier in life.
I mean, and I don't know if that's something that can be fixed or if that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll fix that. I think it's getting better, though, truthfully. Like you can look on Instagram, and I love that I can go on there and see women just being, herself, whether that's a roll hanging out or cellulite on her legs. We're normalizing normal, because these women that have, big butts and little waists and they're beautiful and all that, that's not normal. That's, we might can all achieve that with some help.
I mean, everything seems to be so sexualized, Yeah. And it, I can speak from my own mind.
And I'm saying that sitting here with a full face of makeup and fingernail polish. I love painted fingernails and makeup. I don't wear it all the time, but I like it, So yeah, but we are getting better. I think as a society, we're starting to realize that our worth is not in our looks. We are worth so much just because we're a human being, and I think we're getting much, much better.
I think so too.
About that. So we touched on kind of everything you wanted to touch on?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I can't think of anything else either. I have a hair tickling my nose, so I don't look like I'm picking a booger, but It's tickling my nose, driving me crazy. But okay, well, thank you for sitting down here with me, and maybe we won't wait 3 years before we do another
Maybe
update.
not. Maybe we can do one in Colorado sometime.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Have a big joint hanging
Look,
off the
I
wall.
might not be sweating when I'm up there, but it never fails. We go up there, and it was a heat wave, you know, so I think I took the heat with me. But thank you for sitting down here with me, and we will see y'all in the well, I'll see y'all. She may not see y'all in the next video, but anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for hanging out here with us. And if you have any questions, leave them in the description, or in the questions down below, the comments. Lord. If you have any questions, just leave them down below, and we will go through the comments and answer them, you know, to the best of our ability. Thanks for hanging out here with us, guys. We'll see you next time.